Let me share with you 3 betting strategies that are going to help you win. If you want to sharpen your betting skills and bet like a professional, let's crack on. If you like these types of video, then please subscribe to the channel and keep it here. We're going to be going hard and fast. Let me start by saying, if you are capable of understanding basic logic, you too can win at sports betting. Let's talk middling. With the NFL and college season now back, it's a great time to take advantage of what we call middling. By learning this strategy, you can often get a free roll of the dice or at least create inflated odds. In layman terms, middling is when you are betting on both sides of an event with a guarantee that one side will win, but open to land in the middle and win on both sides. Middling can be used for most sports. Also, it's especially good for total betting, prop bets and handicaps, so bear that in mind. Rather than discuss this further, let me show you an example. To keep things simple and guide you through this, I'm going to be using OddsJam. I'll pin a link, so if you want to check it out for yourself, you can do. So let me just explain to you. Right, so you can see here, these are the games for the weekend. NCAF, that's obviously college, and then you've got the NFL if you look a little bit further down the list there, Las Vegas Raiders, right? So this is the percent you're going to get guaranteed, irrelevant of the result. So at least, you know, this is what we call a middle arbitrage. So you're going to win on both sides in either case. Now, that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. You can also take risks away. I'll give you an example. I used to bet in NFL the 3s and the 7s, right? And, you know, you'd be betting minus 110, 10 to 11 on both. And you'd be doing the minus 2.5 and plus 3.5. If it landed in the middle, that's what you'd be getting. So you'd be putting on 1,100 on both. You'd have 2,200 total on the bet, and you would guarantee 2,100 back. So your risk was 100. If it landed on the middle, you would get both bets back, so meaning 4,200, and that would give you a profit of 2,000. So you know your risk was basically 100 to win 2,000, and the chances of it coming were probably about 15 to 20%. So, you know, that's just a quick explanation away from the sort of arbitrage part, right? So if we look down there, you can see the games that are coming up. You can see the market, what it is for a bet is first off point spread, first off total points, and so on. Then you can see how you'd have to place these bets, you know, the actual bet and the book itself. So the sports books here on the right hand side and so on. And you can see what you have to achieve. So if we go down to say Middle Tennessee against Ole Miss, right, it's over 31.5 and under 33.5. So your middle in this instance is if that game lands on 32 or 33, you would win on both sides of the bet. So you would not just win the 3.74% of the arbitrage, you would also win the other side of the bet, you know, by placing bets on both, right? You can go further down the list. You can see on that NFL game, it's this is player rushing yards, J.K. Dobbins over 16.5 and under 17.5. So you need it to land on 17 for both sides of the bet to win. And yeah, so, you know, it's, I mean, it's just everything covered here. There's millions of opportunities that are happening all the time. And also, like I mentioned, you know, you can use this for other sports, right? So if you go to the filters and you can change the sport here. So, I mean, for example, you could get rid of football and you could go to baseball. Now, we won't do basketball because it's out of season. And you can see what I mean by the actual negative. Look, you've got a minus 1.74% here, but you've got the possibility of coming in the middle, or in this instance, it would be actually a push on Miami Marlins, you know, on the 8, right? So you'd get a win on one side if it landed on 8, plus the push, you know, your money back on one, right? So you could look down for sort of see if anything was more favorable, which I'm not actually seeing at the moment. You can switch over to different sports. So it's not, we could say, go to Aussie rules because it's a big point scoring game. And you can see here it's minus 2.86, and for this bet to win it would actually have to land on 67 points. So whether that's a great bet or not, I'm not too sure, but this is what they're suggesting as the middle, and they're suggesting middles have at least sort of 1.5% on. Esports is covered through this as well. Again, you know, you just secured it, right? Over 97.5
under 98 and also if you landed on 98, the total kills in that market, you'd win on both sides. But again, you've got a minus on both, so the arbitrage opportunity is gone. As we revert back to, say, the football, then you can see for yourself. It's there's a lot more sort of potential this weekend because there's a load of games coming up, and so that's what you've got, and that's how you take advantage.
Let's talk how to benefit from football teams being involved in European competitions. Now, as you know, the top European football leagues have all returned to action, meaning Champions, Europa and Conference League are about to follow. This is a great time of the season for professional gamblers to take advantage of football betting markets, and you can learn to do the same. Let me share with you some tips and tricks to get you in the flow. Right? Did you know that playing in Europe can affect a team's equilibrium? And I'm about to explain that to you now. So take last season, for example. EPL champions Manchester City averaged just 2.39 points per game during the season, which compared to 1.7 points per game following 10 Champions League matches. So in 28 games which didn't follow a Champions League match, City averaged 2.64 points per game, which compared, like I said, to the 1.7, meaning they took an average 0.94 points per game less after a Champions League game. Incidentally, one of those defeats was against Arsenal, who played in the Europa League with what we would deem to be a weakened team, and the reason for that was it was non-priority. They also drew in the league with Crystal Palace, Tottenham and Chelsea twice. Now, we can even look at the finalists. We can look at Dortmund, who lost to Mainz, Offenheim and drew with Augsburg following their Champions League match. With regards to this season's Champions League, we expect the same to happen with City, but the opposite with Arsenal, because they will be prioritising the league again. On that note, it's not a one-size-fits-all, and big teams playing in Europa League and especially in Conference League are expected to prioritise their domestic leagues. Take Chelsea, for example. Compared to the 2-6 win over Wolves, Enzo Maresca made 9 changes for the first game with Servette and 8 for the reverse leg. That was in the Conference League. The Blues coach clearly stated with that the league is priority number 1. Now, for some lower expectancy clubs, the Europa League and Conference League are big opportunities. So just imagine when AS Roma won the Conference League a few years back, Jose Mourinho after the match said, that is the club's Champions League. Is being realistic. So that is the thing. You've got to be realistic with everything. My advice, compare the team used in Europe versus the one used in the league. It will help you identify the club's priorities. Take into consideration match proximity, for example, quick turnaround and any travelling involved, especially if it's been a hazardous journey. Consider the strain on small clubs who lack financial clout. And I can give you one example. For if you go back to the 2022-23 season, Genk, they finished second in the league and only missed off the championship by 1 point. A year later, they struggled down to 5th, but substantially less points. Bookmakers modelling gets it all wrong, and you can take advantage, but the markets will eventually sort of balance out, so you need to make sure that you're moving early if you do spot an opportunity. But one final thought on this segment: everything has a price, and your job is to figure out the betting value. When opportunity knocks, you take it. Now, I'm referring to monitoring games. This strategy applies to top leagues and most sports, what television covers, where you can get information. So let's just imagine you're watching a game and a key player gets badly injured. What would you do? Now, the answer is not bet in play. Those markets would have already been frozen or the odds change. Let me tell you what you should do. Take a position against that team that have picked up the injury in the next game. Now, most sports books have odds and lines for the next round of top league matches, NFL, NBA, and so on, and you can take advantage by being quick. While the sports books will be working on the in-play markets, they are not necessarily thinking about the next game. At least it will take them a while to get around to that. However, that will change when the wise guys step in, so you need to be relatively fast. By getting advantageous odds, you're going to give yourself the opportunity to stick or twist. When the odds change, you can either sell off on the exchanges or bet the other team at much bigger odds later on. This is how you create what we call a position. This also applies to footballers getting like a red card because you know they're going to be suspended for the next game, or even the totting up procedure, you know, if they've got one yellow card too many. If the star striker, playmaker, centre back, first choice goalkeeper are going to be missing for the next game, those team odds are going to go out. Now, I've done this when they've gone out from odds of like 1.7 to 2.1. You know, the difference is massive. It's going to obviously depend on the player, the circumstances, which team they're up against next. So, you know, use your logic. But like I say, by getting in early, you do have the option to get out. So it's the same for NFL. If the quarterback or even the point grabber is clearly going to be missing for the next game, take the handicap line and prepare for a middle, or just go for the outright, and then you've always got the option to go and flip on the other side. You know, whatever the situation, you can always benefit just by being a little bit sharper, monitoring games and being opportunistic. Well, I hope you got something out of this video. I mean, at the end of the day, professional betting is all about taking advantage and applying a bit of logic. If you do things right, you can't possibly lose. Now, the thing is, we've got loads of videos on this channel, loads of tutorials to help you along your way. And also we do a mentorship program for the right people, those who are already profiting. It does come at a cost though, I must say that. So that's it for now. Hopefully catch you on the next one soon. You're through to boot camp again. Take care. Bye bye.